razor blade is at his hand, and he's lying in the bathtub with a bag over his head. Oh my gosh. Is that how he started this, in a business magazine? What did I just read? Writing is when you tell a story. And I want to write stories that compel people in from the very first line. So many books are people telling people what to do. Here's the 1,000 things you should do to be happier. Here's the 100 things you should do to make money. Those books aren't writing. We passed this place a million times yesterday. Like, look at the names of these books. Ice Cream for Small Plants. Like, these are real books.
They're open, let's go.
All right, sometimes people write not because they love writing, but because they want a consulting gig. And the guy who has a book versus the person who doesn't have a book will get the consulting gig or the speaking gig.
I don't know if they'll let you film, but maybe they will.
Hey, morning. But there are all these books out there that say you should be something you aren't. Like, you should be better, faster, stronger, you should hustle more, you should be grateful all the time. And people can't read a book and then suddenly, the next day, become an effective person. Can I look around and see what you do, Star? Is it okay if they come in? They're filming. But what I was looking at is, there are all these things that are considered bad habits or mediocre habits. Like, we're kind of trained from the day we enter the workforce, or even the day we enter school. Oh, procrastination, as an example, is this really bad, negative thing. Teach yourself to live. It's almost like an old version of Choose Yourself. I used to have a weekly column for the Financial Times here in London. It was due every Thursday at 5 p.m. So I would procrastinate, of course, until Thursday. I would not even think about it until Thursday morning. And then Thursday morning, I would start off playing online chess, game after game after game, because I played blitz chess. And then I would, maybe have lunch with friends, talk to people on the phone. I probably didn't even start working on any of those columns till 10 to 5. And I would always shout, finally it's gonna happen. This is the one week I'm not gonna make my deadline because I have no clue what I'm gonna writing. But that's great, because then I would start writing and it would just be this random thing, and then I'd put it together, and I would get acclaim on these articles because nobody else was writing like in this style. And I still write in that style to this day. So procrastination really helped me form a unique writing style. A movie is a story, and everybody's life is cut into a story. I've actually heard studies, like they've done studies of the brains of London cab drivers and US cab drivers, and your brain activates up much more brightly because you're using every part of your brain to I guess, store all this knowledge.
Not quite true. There's a part of the brain that's to do with geography.
When you describe a story, it's not 100% accurate, but maybe it's 100% emotionally accurate. The best light is often when you're authentic and you reveal when you had troubles. And I'm proud of coming out of those troubles, and I'm ashamed of what I did during those troubles. Now that Uber has invaded from the States, how do you think it'll change your career?
The last time we were invaded was
So what I learned, leading in the first line sometimes creates the best light. It's the sun that you glimpse through the clouds. Everyone thinks as an excuse, well, I can't go into business. I'm not really a good judge of people. I don't really know how to negotiate. I don't really know how to sell. I procrastinate too much. And all these habits are actually harmful to quote-unquote mediocre people. And I use mediocre tongue-in-cheek because you can use these so-called bad habits to be extremely effective and productive. Can I have, I don't know, can I have 5 back? What do people tip like in England? Like if I go to a restaurant, what's a normal tip? 10%? Man, in the US I give 30%. Why do they give so low here?
You're paying more for your bill.
Oh, maybe. I can't tell because the exchange rate, it seems like I just took a cheap trip here. See?
Yeah, it depends.
What's the pounds per dollar, do you know?
About 160.
Wow, all right. All right, thanks so much. Thanks for the information. Thanks for the knowledge. See, this is why you don't always have to read the news. I just learned everything I needed to know about Uber versus cab drivers. I learned the whole history of cab driving since the 1500s here. And I learned about the wall around London. I learned about tipping. I learned about the brain, and there's a part of the brain for geography. Who needs to read the news when you've got people who live their life earning their knowledge rather than just some, random blog post? Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Selfie, please.
Sure, of course. I can tell by your accent you're from England. These, what I call mediocre habits, actually I say the effective habits of mediocre people, is not necessarily a bad habit, it's how you perceive it and how you make use of it. There are all these things that are considered bad habits or mediocre habits or habits that are not conducive to success, and it's just not true. Procrastination, as an example, is this really bad negative thing. If you're constantly procrastinating and then punishing yourself for it, it's like 2 arrows. The first arrow, boom, hits you, that's procrastination. It wounded you. But then obsessing on it like, oh, I'm a procrastinator, I'm never gonna succeed, I'm horrible, that's the second arrow. Second arrow can kill you. And so what I'm trying to say here is, even that first arrow, procrastinating, there are some positives about it. So if you've thought all along, I'm mediocre because I procrastinate or I do these other 6 things that I mentioned, just by changing your perception about these habits that are considered negative, you could turn them into superpowers that actually make me more effective than everyone else. Society has always taught you, these are negative habits. Don't do them or you won't be successful. Like everyone else out there doesn't do these habits and they're all successful. You don't want to be like everyone else because that's a competitive world. You want to be special to who you are. The average person can use these very easy to do habits to be extremely effective and turn them into superpowers. So I was flying here and I was sitting next to a woman and I think she was really, really into me shutting up. But at first she suggested a long-term relationship, I thought. She said, go to hell. It's a little too long for me. But I could tell though she really, really just wanted to focus on flying the plane. I fooled you. You didn't think a woman would be flying the plane, right? That was the joke, ultimately. So okay, that's my 30 seconds of stand-up comedy that I'm gonna do today. I'm a procrastinator. Often there's better things to do. That's why you procrastinate on them. Procrastination could be your best habit for effective people. So there's all sorts of ways we procrastinate in our lives. Do you have knock-knock jokes here? Knock-knock?
Yeah, who's there? Who's there?
Yep.
Repeat.
Repeat who?
Who?
Ready to go? Right, James, in your own time.
Is that it? And we think this is a really big negative. Like, if I did these things with more time, maybe I would do them better. Why do you need to do them better? I feel like I'm super wealthy in London because everything seems so cheap until the cab driver told me the exchange rate was 1.6 pounds for $1. And then I'm like, oh, no wonder everything seems so cheap. That's how stupid I am about currencies. It might have been the case that your time is better spent learning new skills, building your network, working on projects that you love. And if you had put more time into something that you thought was important, maybe you would have lost that sense of urgency and you wouldn't have done as good a job.
And then I would give these huge tips because, oh, they should make more money than this. And everyone was like, are you sure you want to tip like that? And, oh, no, don't worry about it. Here's another 8 somethings. I don't know. It's like just pieces of paper with a queen on it. I don't know what to do with this.
Procrastination could be a compass to determine what you love doing and what you don't love doing. And then that's how you can figure out how to manage your time accordingly. Determining what you really want to do for getting things done in the quickest amount of time, because you'll have that sense of urgency. And it could be an effective tool in building other skill sets instead of using extra time to do something you don't really want to do anyway.
So this is Tower Bridge, not London Bridge. So the question I had for someone outside, a security guard, was, why did the London Bridge fall down?
What's your take on the culture of hustle till you drop, and if you don't, if you eat or sleep or hang out with your friends and family, then you can't be successful unless you're hustling 24/7. What's your take on that?
So there's the whole hustle philosophy. Like, and I love Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a smart guy. He exemplifies that philosophy. He talks about it all the time. I need downtime. I was thinking once of making a collage for him because he posted like all these photos of like, pictures of him with like hustle from 6 a.m. to midnight. But every photo was him like looking down at his phone and the quote would be over it. Like then there'd be, he's in a cab and he's looking at his phone.
People need downtime. And in our fast hustle society, we think we're supposed to be a multitasker so you can get many things done.
And I was gonna make this collage for him and just have one quote over the collage, which is just like phone hustling, or I couldn't figure out the quote, but if you can think of a quote, send it to me and I'll do the collage. But because he stopped returning my calls. But
when you multitask, you're telling your brain, okay, go over here now. Okay, go over here now. Okay, go over here now. And then what has to happen is your brain becomes less functional. To go from here to here, these neurons have to shut down. These neurons have to gear up. Lots of things are happening. And now it's fairly fast, but not as fast as just focusing on one thing. So that's single tasking when you focus on one thing. So what is zero tasking? Let's say I'm working on a business deal from 9 to noon. Then let's say from noon to 3, I'm doing some writing. Okay, I've just been working from 9 to 3 on 2 different things. Now I really need to rest, or else I'm not gonna be productive tomorrow or later tonight or whatever. I'm gonna be too tired or my brain's gonna be frazzled. Most of the day, I need to zero task. I need to do nothing. Like, it's okay to just walk around.
And for me, if I don't get downtime, I get very frustrated because I need to learn about the world so I can write about the world, or just spend time relaxing so I can re-energize, and I won't have anything to say or any unique thing to write about because I've always just been hustling, which is really boring.
And by the way, with zero tasking, you also get a chance to explore other things you might be interested in. We always benefit from exploring so that you can bring in new ideas into the old and keep on reinventing yourself. I could write a whole book about zero tasking by itself. Maybe that should be a book, zero tasking. It's better than the 4-hour work week, it's the 0-hour work week.
Oh, thank you.
But I just heard about this a couple of days ago. I was very excited, so I thought I'll come and see you. Very good.
No, thank you. And did you laugh in the beginning? At the jokes? I was trying to do a little bit. I wasn't trying to do comedy, but I was trying to make people laugh a little.
Very good. I like the way that you bring so much humor into
Oh, good.
serious stuff. So.
Okay.
I'll ask you one very quick bit
Sure.
of advice, please. I've got four children, 3 actually going to college or university, but my youngest, my 16 coming to 17-year-old, says he never wants to do that, but he's
Good for him.
He likes money, but he's work shy. Any advice?
Yeah, he should do what he likes instead of doing what he hates.
Right, okay.
Failure is a strong word, and I think lately we've gotten into a little bit of what I call failure pornography, whereas everyone says, oh, I failed, so now I'm ready for success. Like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur because now I started my first business and I failed. So that aside, people think failure is a bad habit. Somebody might have a habit of failing. Failure could be an extremely effective habit, and not that I love failure. Losing a business, losing all your money, losing a wife, losing a spouse is horrible and puts you in despair and shame and regret and a dark hole of depression. But the other thing about failing a lot is you learn how to fail better and better. After your first job, no one asks where you went to college anyway. They just want to know what you did. You learn how earlier on in the process, okay, start a business, I failed, this is what I learned, moving on. End it. Go on to the next one. Don't try to smoke your own crack. If he doesn't like doing anything, okay, from 18 to 22 he can sit around reading books. Don't try to say, this is the best thing ever. There's no reason why I should fail. I'm gonna keep pushing at it. We grow up in a society where if you don't get an A in school, if you don't get an A+ in school, everyone thinks you failed. Working in a bartender or whatever, and then he'll probably have more social skills than someone who went to college. And he'll probably have more street smarts than someone who went to college. He'll read books about things he's passionate about, or look at YouTube videos of things he's passionate about. The A+ doesn't tell me anything. The D tells me very specifically, either you need to learn more in this topic, or you're not interested in this topic. Now I have information from failure. The A+ doesn't tell me anything, actually. So failure could be an extremely effective habit. It's considered the hallmark of a great artist, inventor, innovator, entrepreneur, that their ideas should be unique and original. Create the idea no one's ever thought of before. And at the other extreme end, people say, no idea is new. Both sides are wrong.
I learned rock before rap. And people I said, yeah, I learned rock. And they said, so being that my dad was a minister, this is rad. So it was fully a Creole congregation, dude. They spoke no English in the congregation, purely Creole. My dad was so strict, you could not play nothing in the house that was not Christian music. So one day, man, I look at my brothers, I said, man, look, man, ain't like they understand what we saying anyway. So all we gotta do is say Jesus' name in our music, because that's the only thing they know in English. So my brother was like, yo, what you got here? My brother was like, yo, this is the Police, man, Synchronicity. I was like, yo, let's check it out. Now we listening to the Police, Synchronicity. Like, yo, what you got here? Yo, this is Pink Floyd, The Wall. All of this music, we was doing it because it was the closest thing sounding to Christian rock, because we didn't want to play Christian rock in the church. We was getting bored. So we needed music that was sonically sounding like that. And then so this is how we discovered all of that. You know what I'm saying? So Born in the USA was not Born in the USA. It was Born in the Jesus town. Born in the Jesus town. You know, so we was all of this rock music that you could think about. We would literally were doing covers of them in the church.
But that's amazing because think about it this way. Born in the USA, in a weird way, it's as if it was focus grouped by all of the United States, and all of the United States said, yes, this is good. And so you took advantage of that focus group. Mm-hmm. You brought it to a group who hadn't heard it at all. You changed the words to Jesus. You know it's gonna work.
And it worked 100%.
But it's like what you did with the Bee Gees and your style,
exactly.
Fuji style.
That's right, on and on.
You know it's gonna work when you do that.
That's
it's
right.
Killing Me Softly, you know it's gonna work.
It's gonna work, baby.
In many ways, George Lucas took the framework, the story structure of the New Testament and moved it over to Star Wars in a science fiction background. So he knows everyone loves science fiction. He knew everyone would love special effects. And he knows for 2,000 years, everyone loved the Bible. Like there's no denying that story structure works because maybe 2 billion or 3 billion people enjoy that story. So that's a pretty big focus group that tells you that story structure works. Why wouldn't you use a story structure work? Why make up a completely new story structure that only one person thinks work? You use elements of things that work, and that's how you can create truly original and successful products, but using the old. So you don't have to be you should never be 100% original. Use what's been learned in the past. The part I enjoy most is being on the stage. It's hard, I'm shy, so it's hard one-on-one to talk to people. I'm very introverted. So I like just being on the stage and saying to a large number of people what I believe and what I think about. And then one-on-one, I feel it's hard to answer everyone's question, impossible. So, but I enjoy the fact that they want to talk to me. I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that, that my words have had, some of them say very nice things, and I'm grateful for that. So that's all I can ask for. Who gets such a pleasure like this, to do this? It's fantastic for me. So I'm a poor networker. Everyone says, oh, you should be a great networker. Go to parties, shakes a lot of hands, follow up with people, send thank you notes. And I'm always jealous of people who are really good networkers because I just see, yeah, they follow up, they send thank you notes. Oh, it was so nice to meet you. Let's meet again. They ask people out to dinner. They ask people to coffee. They go to conferences and meet tons of people. It's very hard for me to network. I think about this in terms of the great metaphor is dating. Some people really like to date a lot, and they also like to maybe be in a relationship. So they're either dating every night with someone different they met on Tinder or whatever, or they're in a relationship, even if they're not totally happy because they just love being in a relationship. Well, there's opportunity cost to that. While they were in the relationship or while they were spending every night on a date, they might have missed the opportunity to meet the person that they really would have been the most in love with. Or maybe some nights they would have just been better off sleeping and staying at home and relaxing and zero task and just relax and go to sleep early so you can be more productive at other things. Ultimately, you find the person you love by becoming lovable. And you do that by building skills and resting and being healthy and thinking about your values and being the best person you could be, which doesn't necessarily mean dating every single day or being in relationships that aren't making you happy, which could make you a worse person in the long run. You always want to stand next to the smartest person in the room. You don't need to stand next to every person in the room. So you find the smartest, the one person you need to stand next to one time. You don't need to do it in every room either. So I have a podcast producer because I'm really horrible at scheduling things, returning emails, following up with people, being grateful. My podcast producer sends 1,000 emails a day to people. He's a skilled networker. So I don't need to be good at it. I'll stay focused on what I'm doing. I'll stand next to him, and then he'll stand next to the other 1,000 people. So, but again, sometimes I wish I was a better networker. Maybe I'd have more friends that way, I don't know. There's a saying, under promise and over deliver. They tell everybody in work, under promise and over deliver. And why is that the main business advice? The word under promise by itself is a lie. You're telling the very first piece of advice, go out and under promise and over deliver so you can succeed. The very first word is you're telling people to lie. The word under promise is you can do more. Don't say what you could do, say you're gonna do less. Why would that be the first word of advice? I always tell people over promise and over deliver, because then, first off, you're beating out in competition all the people who are under promising, because you're over promising, you're gonna say you're gonna do more, and now it's a challenge to yourself. Now you have to get out of your comfort zone and actually execute on that over promise. And believe me, you'll do it. If you over promise, you'll succeed and you'll do it because your word is at stake. And then when you over deliver, even on what you over promised, now you have a customer, a friend, a spouse, or whatever for life. Over promise and over deliver challenges you to go beyond the easy A. When you under promise and over deliver, that's the easy A. When you over promise and over deliver, You might get a C or a D, and then you'll go back and you'll say, well, how can I improve? How can I get the A? And then you have to work hard and learn and figure out how to go beyond your comfort zone. It's a stupid strategy to try to get yes on everything you want. Be a poor negotiator, yeah, would have been a better title, because people would say, why is he saying be a poor negotiator? And the answer is, can I use the dating metaphor again? You know, a lot of people think they go out with somebody, they want that person to like them. So they focus on, how can I get this woman or man or whoever to like me? So that's kind of a way of saying I want them to say yes to the things I offer in life. And so you become a fake version of yourself because you wear a mask. You're focused on that first date of wearing a mask and getting them to like who you are, getting them to like, you're figuring out what they like, and you're presenting the mask that you know will get them to like you and say yes, and wherever that can lead. But maybe instead of that, you should make yourself a scarce resource so that you're focused on what you like, and everyone's gonna hate you basically, except for the one person who really responds to who you are. Because you're not overly trying to get them to say yes, you wear less of a mask and they see who you really are. And so yeah, most people are gonna say no to you now, so you might not have as many relationships or date or one night stands or whatever, but the one person who really appreciates you for who you are and who you're gonna have a great lifelong relationship with, that's the person who finally says yes, as opposed to trying to get everyone to say yes. In business partnerships, it's the same way. Sometimes what you want might be very different from what the other side wants, and so you have to be very self-aware that you're not just doing negotiation 101, like basic dumb negotiation. Be very aware of what's important to you so you can give up the nickels for the dimes. And that's really the most critical skill in negotiating, as opposed to getting every piece of everything. You never want that, because then it's not a good negotiation. My big problem is I look smart. So nobody ever said he's never gonna make it. In fact, most of the time I was just disappointing people.
You're over-delivering with your look.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You
And I'm under-delivering.
But by the same token, that'd be a great book too. You could write under delivery.
Yeah, over-promising and under-delivering.
The way to success.
Just by the way I look. Rather than I'm assuming I'm a good judge of people, I assume I'm a bad judge of people. People will sooner or later show you who they are. I don't have to figure it out. It's not a puzzle. Like, let's say I'm with a business partner and he's smart, nice, shows up at my grandfather's funeral, sends flowers at all the right times, is at work early, leaves work late, but then one day just screams at an employee who didn't even really do something wrong, and then just fires that employee. Okay, that's when they show who they really are. They've been wearing the mask for a really long time, and it's hard. It takes a lot of energy to wear that mask all the time. So now, some people think, oh, well, I'm a good judge of character. He's a pretty good guy most of the time. He was just frustrated and tired, so I'll give him a pass, because it was a small little thing. But those small little things, that's actually when people show you who they really are, because they're wearing the mask 98% of the time. 2% of the time, the mask comes off, and they are either a good person or not so good. So I don't spend a lot of effort trying to figure people out. I wait for them to show me who they really are. I don't have to be a good judge of people. Everyone, 100% of the people will eventually show you who they are. And those moments always come. I'm here with my daughter in Paris, and I'm feeling a little sad because how often does your teenage daughter ever ask you to go on a trip with you? I feel like this will be the last time in my life for this to happen with my youngest daughter. So you always want to parent, and this is what I had to learn the hard way, you always want to parent by not telling them what to do or arguing with them or being logical or whatever, because that goes in one ear and out the other, and it's not the way you want to be. You want to just show by example that the world is a big, wonderful place that they can learn from, and it's a nice place, not a place where they should expect people to yell at them or argue with them, a place where they can explore and learn from everything around them and from all the people around them. And so I'm sad this might be the last trip, but happy. It's that these bad traits that you shame yourself for initially, start to reconsider that they might actually be incredibly useful, actually the most useful habits possible. And by the way, the exercise itself of coming up with looking at 7 negative things and looking at the positives, that in itself is a valuable exercise. Everything negative in your life, it's a matter of perception. Seeing how to look at all negatives and try to find the silver linings.